discuss the idea of a general probability for a window for the beginning of open contact between your civilization and other civilizations more openly on your planet. This window in general has been said to be between your years of 2025 and 2033, give or take a year or two on either side. But the idea now is that things are beginning to crystallize a little bit more, and we can, at this point, in scanning the probabilities, pinpoint the year 2027 specifically as an acceleration toward the idea, the beginning of contact in a variety of ways, a little bit more than the idea of just delivering information to you. It will begin slowly. Still, we're not saying that in 2027 all the ships are going to land. That's not what we're saying. So please do not misinterpret this idea. There is still a window. It will begin very strongly in 2027, and here is the explanation of why. Many of you are already familiar in your history with the idea of a seminal event regarding UFO contact that happened in your year of 1947, what you call the Roswell incident, where you really first began to realize that you are not alone in the universe through the crash of a UFO in the desert near your Roswell and Corona in New Mexico. From that point forward began a cycle. Once you had become aware as a society that other beings other than yourself exist on other planets and have the capacity to reach your world with their technology, many different things began to change within your collective consciousness, within your psyche, your awareness. And that began a 40-year cycle. Now, the 40-year cycle has been prevalent in your society for many thousands of years. The idea is that 40 years is generally, in your reality, the time it takes for a complete transformation of a society into a completely new point of view. You see examples of the idea of people changing over 40-year cycles throughout much of your literature if you look for it. The idea, therefore, is that from 1947 to 1987 was the first 40-year cycle when you became aware of the idea of other life in the universe. And in 1987, many of you started to realize that there was another culmination cycle going on then, and you called it the Harmonic Convergence. And at that time, we began to bring through more information about what's going on out in the universe and how different kinds of societies relate to your world, specifically about the idea of the beings you call the Greys, and how we first began to explain the real legacy, the real history of what that society was all about, being that they were originally humans on a version of Earth in a parallel reality that did not necessarily take care of their world, that destroyed their version of Earth through their technological means and their lack of spiritual context, and mutated themselves eventually in order to survive into the beings you now know as the Greys. We told you this story and helped you understand that the reason that they came from their reality to yours and many other versions of Earth was to access viable human DNA, since they were no longer able to reproduce, and with that DNA and their technology, create a race of hybrid beings that would continue their culture so they would not die out. As we have explained many times, of course, we are one of those hybrid civilizations. And Earth, in a sense, in its evolution, is becoming another hybrid civilization. But the idea being, from that point forward in 1987, when you began to realize what the larger story was and how you're connected to it, and how the information that we share with you is not only for the purpose of continuing the Greys' original culture from the parallel Earth, but also to help your world not necessarily go down the same path of destruction, because you had many similar traits and still have many similar traits to what it is that brought about the destruction of their version of Earth and their reality. But by disseminating and absorbing this information into your society, you have the option they didn't have. You have the option to take a different path. You have the option to create a reality that you prefer. You have the option to create positive realities of peace. So the idea here then is we are now nearing the end of that next 40-year cycle in 9 of your years in 2027. And that's why 2027 is now the focal point when the next 40 years, the next phase of contact can begin. It will accelerate at that point in a variety of unexpected ways. There will be more sightings, there will be more synchronicity, there will be here and there on your planet individual and isolated contacts happening. Now, as we have explained, the hybrid races that exist will not necessarily be the first beings that you interact with. There are others that you will interact with that in many ways are actually a little bit more like you and a little bit closer in relation to your world, and therefore interaction with beings more like yourselves will alleviate some of the ideas of panic that some people on your planet may feel in interacting with alien species, allowing you the opportunity to get used to the idea that you can have neighbors from the stars. And as soon as that becomes something that you are far more familiar with, then other races that are a little less like you can begin to introduce themselves in a constructive and peaceful manner that does nothing to disrupt the society that you have chosen to create for yourselves. But it will begin in earnest. The next phase will begin in 2027 and accelerate from there all the way up, as we said, till about 2033. Between 2033 and 2040, as we read the energy as it exists now, if nothing changes, the highest probability is that between those years, 2033, 2040, you will experience complete open contact on your planet. And during that time, also, the children that were created from the extraction of the DNA, the hybrid children, will begin to arrive on Earth to live in certain enclaves, in certain secluded areas, safe areas on your planet, again, where they can live as a group, where they can acclimate to living in your society, and you can acclimate to their society, and you can begin to blend and harmonize and welcome into your reality, welcome them into your world, and begin to really develop a real strong relationship with those children, to begin to truly understand your place in the stars, your very honored place in the galactic family. And through those years, 2033 to 2040, you will develop much, much more understanding of all the interrelationships that have occurred and can occur between your world and other beings from the stars. From that point forward, again, as we read the energy now, up till about the year 2050, all of that acclimatization will take place so that somewhere around the year 2050, you can actually enter into membership, if you wish, with the idea of the Interstellar Alliance and truly begin in earnest your education of the galaxy and a true understanding and connection of creation and existence that will spread you to the stars to explore, to discover more of yourself, and allow you to truly, from that point forward, develop a true harmony and a true paradise on your planet. So 2027 will be the kickoff point for that, a very strong one, and you will see a lot of different things happening in that year. It will be a very exciting time. So we thank you for working with us in this way. It is absolutely our passion to be able to further contact with your civilization among the other civilizations that we have contacted. It gives us great joy to be able to know that it is possible to interact with your world in this way and invite you into the family so that you can begin your process of moving at whatever pace is comfortable for you from the idea of Homo sapien to Homo Galacticus. And taking into account what we discussed last night of your time, knowing that you are all time travelers in a sense, determining which parallel reality paths you are taking by following your joy, by acting on your passion to the best you can, dropping all the insistence on what you think is supposed to happen and letting reality show you, letting creation show you the gifts that it has for you and responding to them in a positive way will drive you forward and allow you to experience the great acceleration that we're talking about that will come to a head in 2027.
How will the realities who do not experience contact perceive this event? Will they look back on this instance in a similar way we look back on the Roswell event, very much in denial?
It depends on the person. There is still an opportunity in the upcoming events to have a particular perspective of it, or no perspective at all, not even knowing that it's happening. There is still the possibility of a range of reactions to it because you are still seeing other people's choices. So for a while, different people will respond or react in different ways or not even be aware that it's happening. These things will start slowly, in phases, subtly, and not everyone on your planet may even be aware that it's occurring. But the different reactions from those that become aware of it may also exhibit a wide range from acceptance to disbelief to total non-acceptance. So again, there is still time for people to make choices about how they relate to the idea of open contact, and you will see a number of different reactions and responses to any particular UFO events or contact events for a few years to come.
This person says, I was wondering if the first major contact event will happen in dream form. I feel like more people would be open to the idea of it since they are in a dream state. I'm aware that a lot of people are already making contact while dreaming and just don't remember it. But will we have a dream we remember which will unlock the door to making physical contact?
That is a high probability. It is common in first contact scenarios in many civilizations, including a high probability in yours, that the idea of widespread open contact will be experienced en masse in dreams before it occurs in physical reality.
Will open contact happen on a large scale, visible to everyone, ensuring that no one is left out?
No, because again, there are those who may choose not to experience it. It will happen for those who are willing and open to experience such a thing. So again, the scale of it will happen in phases, will unfold in phases, and those who are open to the vibration will experience certain aspects of it, and this will change over time and broaden over time. But there will be those who are simply unwilling to experience such things, and we have to respect that. Therefore, vibrationally, they will simply not be capable of participating in the experiences that others may be open to experiencing.
And what will be the impact on those with religious beliefs when we establish open contact? Will they resist, or will you assist them in gaining a deeper understanding of Jesus and God?
We will assist where we can, where people are willing and open to receive assistance. Again, there will be a range of responses and reactions based on people's beliefs, be they positive and or negative. And again, this range of responses and reactions will still exist for quite some time as you process what is going on, as you work through things and determine for yourselves which track you ultimately prefer to be on.
And how are you feeling regarding the current UAP issues with the US government? Will we make progress soon for disclosure and contact?
You are making progress. The term soon is relative. But again, progress will be made in a number of different ways, not even necessarily so much by your government, although there will come a time when they understand that there really is no other choice but to reveal what they know, at least to a large degree. Because the movements that exist in the public domain will have advanced farther, at a certain point than the government's abilities to interact and expose the information that they are aware of. So it will happen as a multifaceted approach from different corners of different public interests and different public activities, and come together at a certain timing, again through the window over the next decade or so.
And since it's the year one of Countdown to Contact, can you tell us more about the ET races that we could encounter, like Sasani, Pleiadian, Yael?
Again, it is most likely that those most similar to you, such as the Pleiadian civilizations, will be among the first that you will experience when open contact begins in earnest. Hybrid civilizations you will experience. Yael will likely be first because they will be the ones bringing the hybrid children to Earth eventually. My civilization, the Sasani, will not necessarily be first, but we will be in the mix further down the line, as well as other civilizations.
You've mentioned that a lot of ET races use similar ship types. We could, of course, reach out telepathically, but are there also physical differences in the ships we would notice, for example, between the triangular ships Pleiadian, Yael, Sasani use?
Well, again, yes, of course. You have witnessed many different types of ships that have many different kinds of functions. And different civilizations usually have types of ships that are relevant for them. A lot of civilizations will use the saucer-shaped ships. Many will use triangular-shaped ships. There is a kind of exchange that does exist between civilizations of some of the technologies. And so the use of different kinds of ships has become more mixed over time, with different civilizations acquiring the technologies of other civilizations. Many will use the cylindrical mothercraft or city ships because that is a convenient form, although some will also be spherical. But again, you can't always necessarily tell what civilization now because of the mixing of technologies. Though for the most part, Pleiadians will retain the idea of the classic saucer shape as you understand it, and our civilization and many hybrids will retain the general use of triangular ships because that is what is representative of our general technology.
And regarding extraterrestrial writing that some people see on the ship's exterior, when seeing the ships up close, what is that writing for?
The writing exists as a mark for the identification of ships in terms of their function, and it is in a sense read as a code vibrationally that is telepathically received by those who are sensitive to it to understand the function of the ship and its nature in terms of how it is telepathically connected to those piloting the ships. It is a kind of a signature vibration that contains a lot of information that others can download, so to speak, to understand the identity of the ship, the function of the ship, the function of the crew, the mission they are on. The writing can even change from time to time.
This person says, I feel like I'm personally ready for that contact with ETs. Can you speak a little more on how we can embody, accelerate, and integrate for first contact?
Follow the formula as precisely as you can, as often as you can, to accelerate your vibration and make you more vibrationally compatible with the idea of contact.
Is it possible for, or probable for some of us to witness humanity becoming an honorary part of the Galactic Alliance? At 21 years old, I'm hopeful that the advancement in technology and healthcare might make it a reality within my lifetime.
Yes, as long as an individual doesn't choose to leave the planet during the time of open contact, those, especially of a younger age, are highly likely to experience the idea of open contact and a relatively large chunk of the full spectrum of contact over time.
For me, this first contact is not really a science event or a fruition of a science fiction dream. It is a cultural event, sociologic, like in the film Close Encounter of the Third Kind. Can you speak to this?
It is a sociological event, first and foremost, because it will alter your entire society. And you must alter your entire society on your own in order to make yourselves more compatible with the idea of contact. So the idea is it is less scientific, although there will be some technological elements to it, some technological exchange, knowledge exchange, so on and so forth, knowledge given, technological ideas given and shared. But it is first and foremost a sociological event, yes. Your entire society, those that are willing and open, those that are shifting in the direction of open contact, will be very different from your society of today. So the idea is that, yes, primarily it is sociological.
The idea of humans organizing for contact. In what shapes or form would you suggest or inspire humans to organize themselves so they can globally have a more joyful and exciting open contact experience?
Some of that type of information will be being delivered in upcoming transmissions that have to do with what we are preparing you for now. As we said, this is Countdown to Contact Year 1, and we will begin to make certain suggestions for actions and behavioral changes in members of your society that have to do with what we are terming the Interstellar Alliance Sociological Experiment. And it will be delivered to you in a variety of steps over time in the upcoming year. So some of those suggestions will be forthcoming in the upcoming transmissions.
You've recommended putting up a picture of an alien in our windows. I've had little children, and in speaking to them about contact, I'm not sure they're ready to see an alien in the window. Do you have other suggestions for the little ones?
Depending upon their age, your children are already exposed to many representations of ETs and other kinds of beings in their programming on television and in movies. You can simply be creative and imaginative and choose representations that you deem to be, shall we say, cuter than average, so that children can relate to them, and use those instead.
When contact is made, what reactions do you anticipate from us?
Again, there will be a range of responses and reactions depending upon belief systems, willingness to be open or not to the idea that you are not alone, willingness to be open to the idea of the kind of changes that would have to occur within you as individuals and within all of you as a society. So again, there will be a range of reactions and responses, and this is what we anticipate will occur at first.
And what qualities make us the best candidates for open contact?
Love, peace, creativity, imagination, and a willingness to be your true selves, a willingness to raise your vibration, a willingness to expand your consciousness, a willingness to connect to all that is in a variety of ways.
Okay, and did the ETs want to intervene when they saw how humans are destroying the planet, or is this that would not be the correct path? Or is that what's happening now?
That is what is happening now to a certain degree. It has been allowed in the past that certain cultures destroyed themselves. At this time, the passage of Earth in its evolutionary path is vital to the cosmos and will not be allowed to be destroyed again. And thus, it is now time for what you might call an intervention, but not in the way that you might think. Nevertheless, the preservation of humanity and the preservation of Earth at this time is of paramount importance to the universe in a variety of ways that again will be explained to you after open contact. You will understand them.
And in our neighborhood of ETs, are there other planets that are so biodiverse and amazing in terms of the biological aspects of the planet?
There are many planets that are extremely biodiverse, even more so than the Earth. But the idea is that your immediate neighbors are not necessarily so biodiverse.
So
This
this
is
is
for the purpose of allowing you to gain familiarity with them in a way that you recognize as being somewhat similar to your reality, so that, again, you have more comfortability in interacting with them. Later, you will be introduced to those that are far more biodiverse than you, far more alien than you.
and ultimately all of the extinction that's occurred on this planet with advanced beings or advanced technology, all of this can be retrieved, similar to the Greys coming to Earth and needing human DNA.
It can all be retrieved, or at least what is relevant can be retrieved for humanity's evolutionary path forward. Yes.
Great.
And again,
Oh,
remember that many different things will be introduced to you where you don't have to necessarily retrieve them. They will simply be given to you.
would you be able to provide insight into the factors that have influenced the likelihood of the Pleiadians being our first major contact in 2027 rather than the Yael or the hybrids?
Well, hybrids and Pleiadians will both be part of the initial open contact introduction. But the Pleiadians have been working with humans on Earth in a variety of ways behind the scenes for quite some time. Therefore, they will be one of the first to be introduced into your society because they have already been working with your society, with many members of your society, for a while.
You mentioned that open contact might begin with ships revealing themselves in a stationary way, perhaps offshore, to give us time to adjust to their presence. After that, the ETs would introduce themselves to us. Could you share how long after we start seeing the ships that actual contact might occur? And how will these meetings take place? Will they be face to face, or will the ETs use technology such as communicating through our computers, TV broadcasts, or some form of AI projection?
The preponderance of sightings of our ships will increase in your year of 2026 and 2027. It will be about a year to 18 months between the increase of the sightings of ships and the introduction of extraterrestrials to your society more openly. This will be done through a type of what you would call a press conference, and they will be introduced physically to you, not through your electronic devices.
So would actual contact that we're being told about in 2027, would that just be the presence of the ships, or would that mean that that's just the beginning?
That is the continuation of the acceleration of the sightings to let you know that we are here. And in 2027, you will actually be physically introduced to the occupants of the ships.
What will be the first technologies that'll be introduced to humanity after open contact, and how soon might we start using them?
Over the course of about 5 years after the introduction of extraterrestrials openly to your society, there will be the introduction of things that have been being worked on between some of your scientists and extraterrestrials for quite some time. Certain kinds of holographic displays, free energy devices, the idea of medical advancements, genetic advancements, so to speak, in that sense, and many other technologies being introduced that have been being worked on for quite some time.
Can you tell us anything about how Western medicine will change after the first contact?
Well, again, there will be an increase in the understanding of genetic structure and alteration of genetics. And there will also be an introduction more readily of the idea of what you would call vibratory medicine, the idea of frequencies of energies having effects upon the human body.
Okay, and will contact with aliens happen primarily on a higher consciousness level, or will we be able to see them and interact with them in the physical 3D realm like we do with other humans?
Physically, of course, interaction with them physically over time will allow you also the opportunity to become more aware of the connections that exist on higher frequency levels.
And this individual is saying they're currently studying to become a counselor. I've been thinking that when open contact occurs in 2027, Many people might need support to process the experience and everything that goes with it. Is that accurate, or does being on the timeline where contact occurs mean that people will already be mentally and psychologically prepared for these extraordinary events?
No, they will need support. They will need assistance, many of them. Not all of them, but many of them. Some people will be better prepared and some people will be less well prepared. And so they may require some support.
And in a recent Q&A, Bashar said, or you said, that the question that hasn't been asked yet is why now for open contact? I would love to know more about that.
Well, again, it has to do with the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another, as even has been foretold and predicted by many indigenous cultures. The recognition that there have been many cycles on the earth, many shifts of reality on the earth that take you from one age to another age. And this is that time again. So it is the recognition of going through the process of transforming from an old age to a newer age, from shifting to one reality to another.
And as we get closer to 2027, this person's saying they feel very excited about open contact. How do they keep their energy in a grounded state while they're so intensely interested in extraterrestrials and the experience of open contact? How can they best prepare?
Remember again, follow the formula in service to others, in service to humanity. That will keep you grounded.
Their question is about 2027 contact event. Many years ago, they knew about this prediction and they wanted to know how this is possible that they were told this in the past and how they received it and how this technically works with the experience of channeling.
This has been laid out on many people's life path to be at this time incarnated during this event, to usher in the new age and usher in the connection with extraterrestrial beings that will help humanity evolve. So the idea is that being laid out on your life path from the soul's perspective, sometimes there will be certain moments when your consciousness may connect to the awareness of what you laid out on that life path and therefore receive information that would then unfold in what you call the future, linearly speaking.
What will happen to the Vatican post disclosure 2027? Will the secret texts in the library be revealed?
Yes, all will be revealed in the years following open contact.
Now, is that after 2027 or is that after we actually, the year that follows where we're having more of a level of contact than simply
Well, that still all happens after 2027,
2027?
whether it takes a year or 5 years or 10. It's
I see.
all within the time frame of the acceleration of full disclosure after the introduction of extraterrestrials. So many things that have been hidden will be revealed, either very, very soon after open contact or within the years that follow.
So does Pope Leo have an ET connection and will he be integral with disclosure?
Yes,
Why have all the enlightened beings in history been male?
they're
Have
not.
the, have the females just been erased because of the male domination agenda?
Yes, but they have existed.
Are
And
there any?
will again be revealed when your history is shown to you by the extraterrestrial.
Okay, do you want to mention any of the enlightened females?
You will not recognize it until it is shown to you.
You've mentioned that Jesus never really meant to start a whole religion, that he was just trying to show us how to awaken the Christ within, that we can be like him. I am thinking that open contact will expose many truths about religions. How will people adapt to this, finding out that Christianity is not completely understood as it was initially transmitted? And what will happen
Religion on
to?
your planet, religion on your planet in its present form will no longer exist by the year 2050. It will be more the understanding of direct spiritual contact.
Right.
If you wish, in retrospect, since you are now talking about it from this perspective, one of the enlightened females is the being that you call the Magdalene, who should have been the continuation of Jesus's teachings, but was not because of male domination.
Where does the male domination issue emanate from? Was it something having to do with how we were originally created?
No.
Is there any more that you can help us understand why this is our challenge to balance?
For now, I will just say it comes from forgetfulness and fear, from a feeling of disconnection and disempowerment, from a depth of that experience, and the attempt to control, to regain connection, even though that is not the way it works. The male seeks to dominate outwardly. The female seeks to understand control inwardly. In the cycle of the earth that is now ending, the understanding that trying to control the outer reality is an illusion. It is going within where control is understood, where control is found, where connection is found. And this is why the rise of the feminine energy is now so important and critical in your society. But in the forgetfulness of past ages, those that sought to regain connection could only imagine the idea of it happening from attempting to control the outer environment, to dominate. So the amplification and magnification of the male side of the energy became accelerated until such time as you have arrived at a point where you are beginning to learn that it is an illusion to try and control the outer reality, since the outer reality is itself a projection or an illusion. And you must go within to regain your sense of connection. And that is why the feminine energy is now rising and must form a balance, so that there is a balance of your relationship between the inner and the outer.